Hey, good morning, Joe. How are you?
It's fine, sir.
Hey, welcome to our next edition of Coffee Talk. I appreciate you coming. We have, today we've got with us General Joe Gardner, the division commander for the 38th Infantry Division. We're honored to have you today.
Cyclone.
And we have had different guests the last couple times. We had Air Guard our last go-round, and every time I've had a little bit of a different coffee mug, and so I've started to get folks sending in different coffee mugs for me to use. So shout out to our Warrant Officer Corps and to Walks down at Camp Atterbury. This is 20 years, so they've been running walks down there for 20 years, and they gave me their commemorative mug, so we're highlighting that today. In addition, we've got some Easter eggs are starting to show up on the table over here. We've got the castle, right?
Seance.
Yeah. So again, thanks for coming. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me and talk to all of our senior leaders across the Indiana National Guard, Army, and Air to talk our priorities. I had the distinct honor a couple weekends ago to sit down and talk to some of our first-line leaders at the company level and really stand up in front of a formation of soldiers and talk to them about warfighting readiness and how important warfighting readiness is to me and to the organization and the why. And that warfighting readiness, full stop, is the number one priority for our leaders out in the field. And that's what they have to be thinking about every single day, is how to be an expert at the basics. How do I take all the time that I have, that precious time that I have every drill weekend, and ensure that I'm getting after it and we're getting the most out of it and we're spending that valuable time as best as we can for our soldiers and airmen. And so as the division commander, how do you see warfighting readiness?
Well, thank you for that, sir. I kind of want to start of talking about what warfighting readiness isn't. It's not a dashboard that you can pull up and say, "Hey, look, I'm good. These are my metrics." You know, it's more just about the numbers. It's about the ability to fight and win our nation's wars and be able to sustain that. So, brilliant at the basics. We've heard that a lot. What does that mean? We've being proficient at small unit tactics and being able to win at echelon, and that starts with the individual soldier. So fitness obviously is a big part of that. Presence is a big part of that. You know, the dot mil PF, we have training that soldiers go through. We get those soldiers at the end of AIT, and now they're in a unit that provides a certain effect on the battlefield. In order to do that, you've got to ensure that your teams, your squads, your platoons are able to fight and win at that echelon. And if not, we kind of stop there. So we have to build that foundational individual soldier, those teams, those platoons, and how you get after that is ensuring that you develop those leaders that they can affect that training. And part of that is being able to show leaders that when I can look back when I was a second lieutenant, my first rotation at JRTC back in 1996, I think it was 96, and I had a sapper platoon.
Just a few days ago. But we had a sapper platoon. We were in Tigerland. We're actually the OP4 of that rotation, and we were inserted 2 days before we knew that an Armor Cav combat team was coming up through this choke point. And they said, "Hey, all we need you to do is to stop this formation for about 30 minutes." So, being a good engineer, we said, "This is great. This is a perfect place for an 11-row concertina wire." And we put some anti-tank mines in the bottom of the little ravine they had to climb out of. So, and we were proud, and we were all looking back, and then here comes the A-10s, and then the OCs made us pull it all out because it was destroyed. So, and then we were done. So we were like, I guess this part of the battle is over for us. But then we get a call from the Swamp Fox, who's the commander of JRTC at the time, and says, "Hey, we're going to have a HIP come in, and we're going to deliver you some more concertina wire, and you are going to put it up." So, and we did. But and I love that story is because leading up to that event, we were looking at what
are the basic engineer tasks that we need to be able to perform and to perform them well in order to enable this fight. We had rehearsed those things over and over again to the point, and I won't say to the point where we could never get them wrong, but we got them right a lot. So it was just that type of, and then being able to see that was probably the most rewarding thing for those junior soldiers to see that, hey, we are training for a purpose, and this is what it did. So
yeah, the collective training is great, right? A battalion collective level training event, a brigade collective level training event. But if you can't shoot, move, and communicate down at the individual level, if you can't do those basic tasks, then that collective training that you're trying to do doesn't accomplish anything. It may make you feel good, but you have to be able to shoot, move, and communicate, and you have to be experts at the basics.
I agree, 100%.
So that's what the priority is. It's warfighting readiness, full stop, out in the field. We do have other things we're working on at the headquarters level that are designed to support warfighting readiness. And so one of those other priorities for the headquarters level is force structure optimization. And so that's looking at what does the force structure of the Indiana National Guard look like today, and what should it look like as we go forward, as the threat environment changes, as the character of war changes, as technology changes at such a rapid pace. And so we're going through this, and there's a lot of changes in the force. On the Air Guard side, they just went IOC on the F-16s, and then we're looking at what's the next aircraft. On the 181st, it's how do we do more with the mission set that they have and what other mission sets that we can have. You own the Army side. So what does force structure optimization or transformation look like in the division today?
Well, we talked a lot about transformation. We've heard TIC 2.0, but now we know that this transformation is continuous. It's like you just said, what's the next aircraft? Well, what's the next piece of equipment that's going to enable us to fight and win in large-scale ground combat operations? And I think we've seen it obviously in a division. We've lost the CAV. We're introducing the infantry squad vehicle. So all of these, adding an IEW battalion. I mean, the division is radically changing. It's kind of going back to that force structure when I came in. The division is now the unit of action where we had those brigades that were scalable and they were self-contained and could do everything themselves. But now that's not the case, and we're seeing that. But we're also seeing a new weapon system that's proliferating. Every soldier is going to have to be familiar with an ISV. Whether it's a drone or whether it's a larger platform that the Air Force we've seen recently in Iran, or in even the one-way. So, and we are getting fielded those systems to start that process of learning new equipment. And it seems it comes easier for some of the younger soldiers that already have that first-person view and do a lot of stuff with the gaming. But that's like the next step, and we're actually playing catch up, as we've seen how the Ukrainians and the Russians are using that in their war that's gone on now for over 3 years. So, but I think we have the people, we have the right attitude, and I think we definitely have the industrial base to not only catch up but to dominate that air littoral fight.
So we hosted the chief of the National Guard Bureau here and some other adjutants general a week ago, and we were talking about transformation because the Indiana National Guard, along with Virginia, were the first states to go through transformation for the National Guard, for the Army National Guard. And so the Army reached out to us and they trusted us to go through and to do this. And I was explaining to these other adjutants general what it's like, and I used the example of, if you've ever played the game 52 card pickup, where you just take your deck of cards of 52 and you throw them down on the ground and they all fall out, and then you got to pick them up and build a deck again. And so what do you say to your soldiers out there that are experiencing this 52 card pickup today, and they're in a unit and then they're going to be in another unit maybe, or maybe they're moving to another facility or another armory? What do you tell them about the importance of what we're doing today?
For one, I think it's all... for me, it's a lot of change because in the last 33 years, there's been decades where there's been hardly any change. And now, if you're an E3 in the Indiana National Guard, there's a lot going on. But do they really know there's a lot going on? Because they're new to this, and it's all relative to who you're talking to. But I would tell them that we have to change in order to maintain that dominance. So, I always thank individual soldiers for their patriotism, their willingness to serve. But you've got to let them know that we need every soldier in our formation, whether you're a mechanic on a generator or you're a platoon leader of an infantry company. So, I have a hard time with this because I think there's never been a time in my career that there's more going on than right now. And I think that's probably holds true anybody who's been in longer than 5 years. And I keep saying we're going to, find that tactical pause and try to, build our combat power again. But I think I don't think it's going to come in the near future. We've got China. That's a threat, obviously, a near peer threat that that's our baseline. We've got to maintain that dominance. And for our soldiers to do that, they're going to have to be all in. And being brilliant at the basics and those fundamentals will allow them to survive on the modern battlefield.
Those soldiers that I talked to a couple weeks ago, I can tell you that they were all in. And I'm always constantly impressed when I get to spend time with our soldiers and our airmen out in the field. And by that same, because they're all in, they deserve leaders that are all in. And leadership matters. What we do as leaders matter. And you've painted a picture of constant change. You've painted a picture of ambiguity. And in that environment, which I see, and in that environment, our leaders have to be able to operate, and we have to empower them to operate in that environment. And so how do you see, what's important to you when we talk about leadership?
When I talk about leadership, when I think about leaders in the Cyclone Division, it's not just the ones that are in the command positions, but it's all NCO officer, warrant officer, everybody that has the experience that can look down at least 2 levels down when we're talking about being able to show what right looks like. So leaders in this organization need to be tactically and technically proficient. For one, soldiers they're pretty smart. They can tell when you're trying to fake it. And if you are faking it, then that's the time that you need to educate yourself. And you don't learn everything just by going to your basic course or your advanced course or even war college. It's a profession. It takes effort, and it takes the ability to dig deep and to understand those small unit tactics and how they apply at echelon up to the division level. And when leaders are present and they're showing them, like if I'm a company commander, I'm going to look down to my squad leader and I'm going to show them and I'm going to validate their training, the 8-step training model. That company level training meeting and those troop leading procedures at the company level, they are the building blocks of the future leaders in our organization. So we got to ensure that they get it right at the beginning, so they don't, wander off and then they're trying to figure it out 10 years later when they're a battalion commander, or a battalion sergeant major. So it's important for our leaders to go down, observe training, participate in training, lead by example, and to show that the soldiers that what they do matters, and it will matter in large-scale ground combat operations.
And I'm looking forward to this entire summer. I'm going to get out, and I've already started it, but my intent is to get into as many battalions as I can, talk to battalion commanders, get to company commanders and talk to company commanders, share what's going on from my perspective and hear what's going on. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming in today and spending the time with us. You're a traditional, as much of our force is a traditional, and trying to find the time to do this critically important job is hard and it's difficult. And I get that and I understand it, and I appreciate all of our traditional soldiers and airmen, and I appreciate you for coming today. Thanks, General Gardner. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
A lot of stations stepping on each other. Roger, you're